All right, good to see you. It seems like people are rested up. I don't know why, but that is good. We'll get rocking. I thought a couple, just things from some feedback, from today and meeting with the guys. I'll first take you back to the game. Coming down from the press box, was pissed. Obviously, let up a score right at the end, and coming around, turning it into the locker room, and just these guys were gassed, and it reminded me how much I admire their toughness. To battle through it when you have a bunch of guys sick and just playing for it anyway, and just leaving it out there. That's brotherhood, and I certainly reminded them how much that's appreciated from our end, to know that they're just going to go fight for one another, and I certainly thought that was the case. Not to say it was okay on the 2 minute at the end of the game, but that's one of the areas we've been rock solid. But it'd be remiss if I didn't bring that up to say how impressed I was on their toughness, how hard they want to go fight for one another. So then we kind of got into our little bit of what, so what, now what, and I thought the things that we were pleased with was playing on third and fourth downs, and knowing that was going to be one of the real things in the game. And the second thing we were pleased with was our tackling. And so if you remember, going back to our first game, we had 9 missed tackles when we played them up at their spot, and so to have 2 in this game, I thought that was a big improvement. From the quarterback to the running back, guys who've just are exceptional at what they do in terms of running the ball. I thought that was a big piece of it. So got into what we learned from, and so obviously having a penalty in a 2 minute, that was a big piece for us, and not being able to create takeaways. We had one, got called back. We had a foul on the play, and so being in the game where we're in a -2 spot, that's not one you want to be into. So our job is to get them and give them back to the offense. So having a game where we didn't create any, to gain some field position and gain a decided advantage, we thought we could do it better on that one. And then where do we go from here? I just kind of reminded, hey man, we're getting into December football. This is no time to sit back and smell the roses and see what we're doing. This is a time to get it on and accept new challenges and try to go smash it. And so that's what we expect to do. And so it was a good day of going through it and where we're headed. So with all that said, glad to open up for you guys and get it started.
Dan, David Moore, Dallas Morning News. Before we get back on your team, you spent a lot of time and had a relationship, accomplished a lot with Matt Ryan in your time in Atlanta. Can you talk a little bit about the relationship you two formed and just where you see him as a player at this stage of his career?
Yeah, I love him, and he is a rare and relentless competitor. I would say that's probably one of the first things that you meet, or that you find out about him, being around him for a long time. I would describe him like he's a wolf in sheep's clothing. Comes across, real clean cut, nice, and he is a tough ass competitor. And so those are some of the things I remember, and just from his side, just all the support that he showed me and the staff, I certainly appreciate that. But yeah, he's got a special spot with me just for his toughness, his leadership, kind of what he stands for.
Michael Gelkin, Dallas Morning News. Run defense was improved against Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones. Where did that improvement lie in your eyes?
Well, going against this team, we knew how important, Mike, it was going to be to be able to set the edges. This running back with Barkley, man, he has such a good jump cut. He can start outside and bring it back inside. So we worked that as much as we could during a short week, but we know how explosive and dangerous he is. So there's going to be the second, the third, the fourth guy to come in to go make some plays, and it wasn't just going to be in the run game. It was him coming out of the backfield on screens, and so going into it, that was a big focus point for us. The tackling. And not just that, but in the run game, but in the passing game as well.
Piggyback on that, Clarence, before we start talking about, I guess you've proven you start to run. You have to prove it again this week with this running back. I mean, that's
absolutely, yeah. I think you have to, and the reason being is it's the speed. That Taylor's a bigger back. You wouldn't think just because he has this kind of speed, but he is a strong size back. So the inside run, if you just miss your fit or miss your angle, you can really be vulnerable. And I think you saw that against the Raiders on the long one that he had, where if he gets out to the edge and he can split it, he's got the speed to go the distance. And that was true from his college days, and it's kind of carried all the way through. But he is a tough back that has real good speed. So this will be our third one in a row of guys that can really make the big plays.
Secondly, Dorrance Armstrong, did you know he had 8 sacks in him? Did you know that last year? Did you see it? Where was this coming from?
Well, I think this is a player that just kept getting better, and as we went into the offseason, he was a real priority for me, going into the offseason when they say, what do you think? I said, all these rushers add him in, but DA was always a part of that conversation, knowing how important he was. He's one of our most consistent players, and having guys like that who not only understand it but know how to play, are in the right spot at the right times, usually those things, the good things happen for those guys when they just keep doing right, and that reminds me of DA, if somebody just keeps doing it over and over in the right way. But we put him outside, we put him inside. So yes, I would say I'm not surprised by his production. The opportunity was there for him to go take it, and he's certainly taken advantage of that.
There's that just as relentlessness.
I think it's his ability to bend for a big guy. You wouldn't think that he can get under guys and turn because even though he's 6'5", he can get down and get underneath guys. So he's got a real knack for running games. And so he knows when to take it up, when to come inside, and I think that's one of the real strengths for him. And we stun a lot, and I think, for him, that's one of his real strong points in his ball game.
Dan Jory of Stein Yahoo Sports. We haven't had a chance to talk to you since the Vikings game, but when you look at what Trayvon did against Justin Jefferson and also how he played against the Giants game, what is he doing in this game that maybe isn't showing up in the stat sheet like the same way interception?
Yeah, I would say a number ones. I think I was real proud of him for that game because I think the game prior, Jefferson may have had 10 catches, he just, had one of those games that just, he's hard to stop, and the ball, even when it was a pass, it looked like it was defended, he caught it. And so for Trey to know, hey, not only do I want that matchup, and where am I going to go and find it and put him in the right spot, there's a lot that goes into that because it affects the other players too. So I thought the communication from Bland to Trey to others, that was a big piece of it too. And so over the last couple of weeks, the things that you probably wouldn't see show up is his run support, where he's outside to turn those plays back inside. There was a jet sweep that went outside to his side. He took on the tight end. Mike and I believe it was Donovan were able to run it from inside out. So what a great example of, trusting one another. So I'll do my job so these guys can do theirs. And so some of his game doesn't show up, on the stat sheet right now in terms of the volume of interceptions, but he is playing better today than he was a year ago today, and our defense is playing better.
Absolutely, and one more on a theoretical side. The offense, Yale's offense has been using a lot more tight ends, a lot more emphasis on the tight end packages. As a defense, what is the challenge when you start seeing 2, 3, 4 tight ends out there, and how do you think that the game has changed in that way?
I think there's probably two parts to that answer, Jory, and here's why. On the first part, it's the size and length. Who matches up on these styles of tight ends? Who could be at number one? They could be in line. Do you put a linebacker on them or a safety on them? So having a 3 tight end set, what's the matchup that you want to feature? And then the second part of that one in the running game is you can create some angles, with extra tight ends. Some can line at fullback, some can line it in line, some can split out. So it's one of those positions that they can look like a wide receiver, they can look like a fullback, or an inline tight end. And so that's kind of 3 positions in one. So featuring those players in those ways by the formation, that's a big piece to it. And then so it's kind of 2 parts. Matchups when you throw it, and then how do you align on some of these guys in the run game? He plays fullback. He's a pass-catching tight end. He's a run-blocking tight end, making sure you're putting the guys in the right spaces based on what they can do, the opponent. So it's a little bit matchups on both sides.
Do you feel like you're seeing more of that around the league just with the way that you're playing guys like J-Ron?
I think about 2 or 3 years ago, we all kind of felt this shift coming of tight ends who are really athletic and can really fly. And so when you went back through last year, who were the tight ends we had to match up against? Some are real speed, some had good size. And so all of them are a little different, but having enough guys who have the length and the speed to do that helps. So we need the guys who, quite honestly, can match up and guard like tight ends. You see that with a guy like Damone Clark, and obviously at the safety side, it's JK, and why do we use and have a 6'4" safety? He's another one that can come down and cover in the box. So having enough players, I think, to match up, that's the real key to this, Jory. If a team wanted to spread out, you have to have enough corners and nickels that can do that. We also have enough safeties that can match up on the tight end side.
Dan Tyler, with ESPN. There's a lot of attention paid to Mike and to Marcus and Trayvon Diggs. But what do you get out of a guy like Leighton, and what has he meant to your defense?
Yeah, I think he falls in line to me almost like the Dorrance Armstrong. The ones where we said just really consistent. I think the thing I've been most proud of him from this year is how well he's tackling. and he's just in good position. His angles are right, and I kept reminding him, man, stay in this pocket that you're in right now. Your game's right, your preparation's right, your communication's there, and keep at it. And one of the good plays was for him, knowing he has the freedom to take shots. There was a sneak, maybe on the second to last play, where Jones, when he just went right over the top and made a big stop to go. That wasn't a call that we had in for him to go jump over the top. It was him recognizing the play, recognizing the moment, Todd, to say, this is going to happen right now, and I'm going to go do it. And so giving him that freedom to see that, that's been a big piece of it. And I can't think of much better of a person for Damone to come in and see, for guys like Leighton and Anthony Barr, to see, on the way up to say, that's what good preparation looks like. That's, what really taking it to the next level looks like.
And how much, with Damone, the fact that Leighton had a similar surgery, and then he's coming back from the same thing, that he's seen proof that you can play with this thing.
Yeah, and just knowing like he's already hit some of those markers along the way, and so on Damone's way back, I think Leighton was an important piece to that, to say he knew every step, that Damone was on, and knowing that you're going to get there and you're going to keep going. And I think that gave Damone some confidence as well, just knowing, hey, here's a guy that's walked in my path, so to speak, before me, and I thought that was a good step. But he is, I'm really proud of the work that he's putting in for us right now. He's a very important part of what we're doing inside.
Coach Aisha Morrison, DallasCowboys.com. To piggyback off of Todd, how do you think that Damone Clark's progressing in this defense, and is he allowing you to do more with Michael Parsons on the edge, with him fielding that middle linebacker at that level right now? Yep,
let's hit the first part first about where he's at, and I thought, man, he is really making strides to go. And so he's one of the players that there's going to be some mistakes and some what I'll call like on-the-job training for a new player. In essence, he's a rookie that just missed the first, half of the season, so he's hitting into his stride. And the great thing about that is he's not a player that repeats mistakes. And so when you see one thing happen, he's ready for the next one. He's ready for the next one, and he's hungry to improve on that. And so what'd you think? What can I get better on? He's always kind of challenging to push for that. So I just kind of see his trajectory continuing to move forward. As it ties into Micah and Anthony and Leighton, I haven't balanced that out to say, hey, he can move down to outside because those guys are inside. I just try to do what's best for that week and how we go about it. But we are really pleased with him, and it just goes to show, when you put the kind of work in that he does, good things are going to happen.
Calvin Watkins, Dallas Morning News. How good of a season is Lawrence having for you?
D-Law? Yeah, I think one of the things that gets overlooked sometimes, how violent he is in the run game. And so the ability to punch a ball out or close down from the backside. And he's a guy that can improve all the time. He had a good game in New York, but he lost some contain on some plays. It was one thing that irked him and bothered him. He wanted to make sure that didn't happen. And so in this game, he took good angles. He knew where to go. And so I think really just staying within the system has allowed him, to really make some of these plays for us. But he is him and Dono, I would say, are the trendsetters in terms of the toughness, the physicality, the speed that they both play with. They play like their hair is on fire, and it shows just by the way they go after it. And so I know I certainly appreciate those two and what they bring. When you're looking for somebody to set it off, usually it's 90 or 6 is one that's going to have a big hit to do that.
Trayvon, looking at the numbers, his number of times the teams are targeting him this year relative to last year, that's down. Do you see that as just the way things have gone, or is that a testament of a measure of respect to the improvement, the strides that you've referenced?
Yeah, I think it's the latter, where the ability for him to stay connected to the guy, it's just hard to complete, the balls that go over to his side. And if you do make a mistake, he's got the ball skills to make you pay. And so there may be some games where I don't want to mess with that challenge, and I can go to another side or look at a different concept. And so as the season progresses, there'll be different matchups that we'll go through, but he is really on it in terms of his game right now and where he's at and the ability for him to travel or not, depending on, who the opponents are. I think that's a real factor for us too.
And how do you get the corner, that depth developed to the point where there's not a drop off should the guy go down for whatever reason?
Yep, and so that part, for us on the development side is a big piece, and that's why on the outside, you see at practice where it's Kelvin and Nashawn working together in conjunction. Why do we put those guys in the critical moments? because their time is also going to come. And so we've done the same thing inside. Bland, put him outside some. So we just try to continue that rotation both at corner and at safety. So when your number is called, you've really proven yourself, out here on the practice field to say, this is where the trust is coming from to the coaches and to my other teammates. So when called upon, I'll be ready to deliver. And so we like to play a big, deep crew, and that position is no different.
We're going to finish up here with Dave.
Babe Loffenberg, Cowboys Radio. You get a player like Micah, and the other team says we can't let this number 11 take over the game. And so obviously it's a physical strain on that player, but there's also a mental strain, just knowing everything's coming, chipping, doubles, all that. Do you have an eye on that with Micah or a player like that?
Yes, because you want to make sure that you're not in one location long enough to say this is where he's going to be and this is how we want to go. So does that move off the ball some, left side, right side, so you can move him around? Think of like in your own mind when you had a special player and you wanted to put him in all the different spots, for quarterback. I know I can put him in the slot or I can put him outside. So when you have that type of versatility, and not every player can do that. And so the fact that Micah can move from inside linebacker to outside linebacker to right DN to left DN to stand up over the center. So putting him in different spots, I think, is one of the real parts of not allowing someone to know, hey, always put a tight end over to the offensive left, and you can be able to chip Lawrence Taylor. Not that it worked against you or anybody else, but I think having the ability to move is a big piece of that.
Thank you, Dan.
All right, you guys have a good one. Aloha.